Hi, Christy here for Lawnscaping Challenges, and today I want to share a project with you. I use these stitch dies from Lawnscaping and then the Our Friendship Grows stamp set. And you can kind of see the dies here. What I did is I used some regular foam to create stamps. Here's another card that I did that shows it, and you can kind of see some of the stamps are on the card and some of them are popped up. There's actually not a stamp for that. I made them with the foam. I die cut them. So I made my own stamps using cheap craft foam that I got at Michael's. It was actually for my daughter. There's a whole pack of cheap foam for a couple bucks. So you can kind of see it adds dimension to your card. I used distress inks to create the leaves to make them look real. So I'm going to show you what I did. I started coloring in the giant sunflower from the set. I used my Spectrum Noir markers. So I did half it already. I'm going to speed it up and I'm going to color fast. What you do when you use Spectrum Noirs is first you lay down the lightest color. Then what I do is I go in with the darkest after that. Then I go into a medium and I pull the dark into the light, and then I go back with the light. So there you can see I had the lightest laid down, and then I went in with the dark, and then I went in with the medium. Finish the flower and it's all done. So then I grabbed my foam and my dies and got my cuddle bug out, and I just used the normal arrangement that you use for any die. So it's the two base plates and then a regular one. Now you do have to give it a little extra shove when you go ahead and start the die cutting process. For me, it didn't want to go at first, so I kind of had to shove it in a little bit extra. It was, because it's thicker than normal paper. But went through no problem. I actually ran it through, as you can see here, and then I'm running it back again just to make sure it cut all the way through. The great thing about these stitch dies is the stitches actually show up when you're die cutting. Because they're part of the die, they're nice and deep. So when I stamp with them, the stitches show, and it's one of the best dies that I've found so far to use with stamps, to create stamps, I should say. And by the way, when I was done with this project, I gave the little foam to my daughter, so she's got her own little stamp set. I use repositionable adhesive, and I just stick it on that. That's like a cheap craft block that I have, and I stick it on there. It comes off no problem with stamp cleaner. It's not an issue whatsoever. I've used several different inks, everything from distress inks, the chalk inks, everything, Memento. It all seems to stamp pretty well. This is the repositionable adhesive, and you can put it directly on the foam or on the block. I've done it both ways. It kind of seems to stick a little bit better on the block. Either way, it kind of stays on the block, so it probably doesn't matter. And like I said, it comes right off here. This way, I guess I did it on the foam. So it comes right off with stamp cleaner, or you can probably rub it with your fingers. These are the ones that I used for my previous card. So I did 3 different ones and then stamped them. And the ink stays on there, but it doesn't matter. When you're done too, if you want, because it's covered, it's not white, or you can use any color foam, it doesn't matter. I just use white because it's easier to see for the video. Then you can use it in another project if you want to. So multi-use for everything. Here I do a test stamp, and you can see how nice the stitches come out from that die. So that works really, really well. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of position everything. Whenever I stamp, I always position everything first. So I position everything on my card and see, if it's going to look okay. And here, that's where I'm going to stamp the one leaf, because I'm going to have it sticking out of the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other one as well. So I'm going to make the little stamp, just to make them a little bit different. And this is the Memento that I'm using again. I believe it's called Cottage Ivy. And it's just a nice clean stamp. And like I said, I've used multiple colors when I've done it. For the other card that I showed at the beginning of the video, I used just distress inks. I didn't use any other inks for the leaves, and they came out really nice. And then this was, just the regular Memento dye ink, and that came out nice too. So then here I also die cut some leaves out of plain white cardstock, and I'm going to color them in using the Memento Luxe Northern Pine ink. It's a little bit different of a green, a little bit duller, but I figured that that made it look a little more realistic. For the autumn leaves, I did the same thing. Those came out a little bit cooler because I just personally like the autumn colors. So I used multiple See, I used mustard seed, spice marmalade, and vintage photo, and I think I even used barn door because those are kind of like fall-y colors. And for these I used, like I said, the Luxe Northern Pine, and then I also went back in with the vintage photo, which is a distress ink, which is what I'm doing here, and just trying to make the leaf look a little bit more realistic. I think the more colors you have on it, the more real it looks. And then I'll go back in and stamp. See, the adhesive is still on there, and it doesn't ruin anything, it comes right off. Then I'll stamp the foam again with cottage ivy, testing it of course, just in case, you never know. And this card got done pretty quickly. Honestly, the most tedious part was probably cutting out the flower because I don't have that die. So that was probably the worst part. And then here I'm just going to stamp it on. Nice and simple. For the flower, the Spectrum Noirs I used CT4. And then I used a couple in the GB families. I believe it was GB5 and GB6 if I'm not mistaken. Yep. I'm sorry. CT4, GB4, and GB6. And then for the inside of the flower, I used Tan4 and Tan6. And here I'm just adding some glimmer using my Wink of Stella pen. I just thought it would be nice to add a little something extra. And it's subtle, but it's definitely noticeable when the light hits it the right way. I think it just makes the flower and the leaves look really cool. Just an extra little something. And it's easy to do. This is the best glitter pen that I've come across too. I've used a bunch in the past. They're okay. I mean, this does take slightly longer to dry, but I've used my heat gun on it. It's so nice and glimmery. It looks so pretty. And there's multiple colors available. I just have the clear one that I used for this though. So I'm going to attach everything using my adhesive. I have adhesive foam squares from Crafter's Companion. I use those. I also added a sentiment. Our Friendship Grows Brighter Each Day from the same set with the flowers, the Our Friendship Grows set from Lawn Fawn. And I just stamped it in Tuxedo Memento black ink. Because, of course, you need a sentiment, right? The stamp block that I'm using is also from Crafter's Companion. For a long time I was using like a cheap stamp block from Michael's, and I would get so frustrated because I had so many images that would not stamp right, and I don't know, I never thought it was the block. And I ordered this a few months ago and I love it. Everything stamps so wonderfully. It's so great. So here I'm just positioning. I'm going to add some sequins. I have my little stash of sequins. It's, unfortunately I stuck them all together. But this is a mix, I think, of Lawn Fawn and Studio Calico sequins that I have in there. So I'll pull those out and stick them on after I'm done adhering everything. These adhesive foams are great. The only thing is sometimes they stick too good. So if you make any mistakes, good luck pulling them off. Once they're on there, they're on there. So that's another reason why you see me checking things over and over again before I put them on, because I have made that mistake one too many times and then I have to redo something. And after coloring and cutting out that flower, I did not want to redo it again. So there it is. That's on there. And then all that's left is the sequins. My little mixed array that I have. I do a lot of things in odd numbers and threes. It just kind of balances things out a little bit better. Obviously, evens work sometimes too, but I just always gravitate towards kind of doing sequins and enamel dots and bling, whatever it might be, in odd numbers. So I use the Xyron adhesive dots, the high tack, in order to stick my sequins on. They're basically the perfect fit. These are the 3/16 inch one, which is 5 millimeters. And they work great for sequins. Now some of the smaller sequins I kind of have to like rub it and hide it behind the sequin, but they work great. For a long time, I was using like tacky glue or crystal lacquer or like glossy accents, and these are fantastic. So here's the finished card.